Welcome to Two Hypnotherapists Talking. We are two established hypnotherapists based on either side of the pond. I'm Martin in Preston, UK.
And I'm Denise in Delaware, USA. Whether you're curious, an avid fan, or a fellow practitioner, I'm sure you'll find something of interest in our weekly conversations with each other and our various guests.
While we both practice hypnosis, we are interested in other aspects of self-help and personal development. So please sing out if you have something to say or want clarification. Our contact details are in the show notes.
So, Martin, let's get on with this week's episode.
Denise, we're back, series 7.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Anyway, that's good. Are you beginning to feel very settled as an established hypnotist now and podcaster?
Yeah, very much so, very much so. It's been an eventful few months, hasn't it? If people are wondering where we've been, it's because we've been getting this series in the can before we launch it.
Exactly.
So we don't get interruptions.
And putting out all the other little fires that go on when you have a business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we've both had lots going on, haven't we?
And mine's not going to... 2025 is going to be busy.
Yeah, I can well believe it. I mean, there's been so much going on in the world as well, all over the place. But so we're back for series 7. What have we got lined up? Well, we've got a load of guests lined up, haven't we?
Yes, many of them have already spoken with us.
Yeah, we have. We've got them in the can. So what are we going to talk about?
More of the same, but just what we do in our business.
Yeah,
so,
okay. What have you been doing?
How about you? Well, I was going to say, why don't you've had a pretty exciting day. You're also now becoming a fairly proficient teacher.
Yeah.
Why don't we talk about that for a while?
Okay. Well, as you know, I do the mental health and wellbeing training. So I train people to be mental health first aiders as part of my sort of rapport throughout Lancashire. But today, usually I teach it to adults. Usually I train adults to be mental health first aiders. Today, I was training college students, which over here in England is 16 and 17-year-olds, A-level students before university. So I was teaching a classroom full of those today, which was rather fun. I really enjoyed it. They were brilliant.
Were they like your fellow pupils when you were a student? Or are they very different?
No, they were far better behaved.
Oh, really? How old were you when you left school?
16.
Did you go all the way through 16, yeah?
Yeah, I left at 16 after doing my O-levels, as they were called back then.
Right. I went to college to do my O-levels as well as my A-levels.
Yeah.
Local tech place. So, what were you teaching these people specifically?
Okay, well, in the morning, they were doing a mental health awareness course. So it teaches people how to be mental health aware, specifically for younger people. So this was how they could look out for signs of poor mental health in their peers, basically. And it covers a lot of the basic conditions, and it covers something called the mental health continuum. Because obviously, you know, in years gone by, it was assumed you're either mentally ill or you weren't. Where, of course, these days they tend to work around a quadrant rather than a flat line, as it were. So teaching them that, teaching them some basic symptomology to look out for. Even though, of course, you don't teach anybody to diagnose anything. It's good to be
aware that there's an issue.
Yeah, it's good to be aware of signs and symptoms so you can, have a conversation, signpost, etc. So I was teaching them that in the morning, and then in the afternoon we were doing part of the Living Works International program, Safe Talk, Suicide Alertness for Everyone. So again, the whole idea is that it helps create suicide safer communities, and people know how to look out for possible signs of suicidal thinking, and again, how to keep that person safe whilst you try to arrange them to make a connection with a keep safe connection, somebody who can help them further along the line, as it were.
I don't know that there's an answer to this, but how do you see that work combining with the work you do as a hypnotist? Do you see many people who are feeling that unhappy?
Not as a rule, no. Usually they're perhaps on their journey of recovery already when I get to see them. Quite often, I think you find this as well, don't you, that a lot of people come to hypnotherapy as a last resort after they've tried everything else? Yes.
A lot of people do that. We've got to do something about getting it more visible to people so they try further back in the train, which is why I reach out to doctors and try to get them to
Yeah,
mention it or have a poster in your office.
yeah. I mean, I find this time and time again with other therapists I speak to. Quite often, people have tried everything going. Maybe they've had a medical intervention. Maybe they've tried CBT. Maybe they've tried other counselling, for example. Generally, they will try hypnotherapy as a last resort when everything else hasn't been successful, rather than trying it as a first option. And so often, I dare say you hear this as well, but so often I hear, I wish I'd have found about this first.
Right, yes. Well,
Yeah.
that's how I felt about it in my career choices too. I liked to have had this while I was still working as a doctor. But this is what we got. Yeah.
Yeah. So how does it fit in? Well, it's all linked, isn't it? Mental health, well-being, looking after ourselves, taking care of ourselves. It all links in nicely. But of course, I mean, I suppose that the way it fits in best of all is the fact that, prevention is better than cure, isn't it? So you're teaching people about well-being, about self-care, about looking after themselves in the first instance.
Notice when things are going wrong.
Yeah, to sort of check in with yourself, to be more self-aware. And I mean that in the sort of in the literal sense, rather than I don't know about in America, but over here, if we say somebody's self-aware, it could be used in a sort of derogatory way, as in they're conceited.
Right. They only think about them. They don't worry about the other people.
Yeah. I mean, is it the same over there, that sort of phraseology? Or
no, because we're told so constantly to check in with ourselves.
Right, okay.
Really, I don't think it's considered derogatory. Certainly there are people who are big-headed. There's a lot or pig-headed more often than big. But yeah, I mean, that is a problem all over the world. You have to be aware enough about yourself to be able to communicate effectively with other people. But yeah, it's interesting.
It is, but we're sort of being aware of what triggers us. I mean, I put it this way: we can all be in a lovely state of mind. We can perhaps be watching the television, or just, I don't know, just sat chilling, enjoying a family evening, or whatever else we do. And then something can happen. We might hear some bad news. We might see something bad on the television, or somebody may particularly say something, and we will suddenly react or overreact even.
Right. Well, certainly, so the person watching it could appear to be overreacting.
Yeah.
But it's because it's triggered something from your past.
Yeah, or recent past. And I think being self-aware means being aware of the things that trigger us, doesn't it?
Yes. It's a good idea to have some idea of where your points are.
Yeah, absolutely. So you said 2025 is going to be busy. What have you got planned?
I've got quite a few things on the slate. I'm going to do a TED talk. It's not firmed up yet, but I'm in the process of writing it and getting that honed in.
Okay.
I didn't know that TEDx, of course, not the TED, but TEDx talks are staffed entirely by volunteers.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of responsibility, really. It's a big thing for people. But each person, each organization that's putting one on has a particular spin for it. So you have to be able to justify putting your talk in their spin. Yeah. So I have to go and research which one I'm going to write for and how much that. But that is, and also, of course, the book. I started writing a book last summer.
Yeah, well, you've not told our viewers and listeners about it, really, have you?
Well, I haven't told many people about it, probably because I haven't actually done very much yet. Other than I have a series of things I do in order to write it. It's so much harder than you thought it was going to be whenever you actually started. I mean, some parts are very easy to write. It's easy to write about why particular techniques are chosen for particular, but it's not an instructional book. The point of it is to let doctors be more aware that hypnosis is there and you could reach out to a hypnotist and have them help your patients, which I'm hoping will help because I told you before we go on air that Judith, my physician friend in New York, she talks about hypnosis a lot. She's about to have surgery, so I'll be talking to her about things that she could do that may help her recovery and the process. But it was lovely. It was such a lovely surprise. I was sitting down to do something that, those tasks that you have to do and you think, oh,
Yeah.
she rescued me. I could talk for 10 minutes with her and then I went back to it. slightly more encouraged.
Okay. Yeah. So what else have you been doing unusual or different from the norm lately?
Not, I don't think, very different. I haven't got that many clients at the most. It tends to happen in December for a lot of us. You either get people who are in dead tailspin panic about Christmas and you need to help them with that, or they say, I'll talk to you in January. I actually got somebody who booked a call in January.
Okay.
On the 1st of December, she booked a call in January, not because there was, no time, because she wants to start working on this issue next year as part of her resolutions, I'm assuming.
So she's already set the resolution ready then, ready for a January start.
Exactly.
Yeah.
January 2nd, I'll be talking to her. And I've just had another person who's contacted me. Apparently hasn't been to my website. She wrote to me, an email to me, and it got sort of stuck in the usual, I don't know about your email list, but mine just goes crazy this time of year. People trying to sell me things, people are trying to send me cards, or it just exploded.
Well, yeah, it sort of starts round about Black Friday. All of a sudden, you get about 200 emails a day. Yes, I get that.
Yes, that's exactly right. And there may be more than 200. But anyway, she reached out and I found it. I wrote back, and she's a few miles down the road from here. I think she might assume that we work face to face. And of course, most of my work is done online. Because honestly, I think it's better. I think it means that they're in they feel comfortable already. They're relaxed. They're in their own home. And they don't have to rush off and find a car and deal with Christmas traffic. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, well, I think though these days, Denise, people are far more willing to consider things online anyway, aren't they? That's one big thing COVID did. It got us all online. It got us all used to Zoom.
Yes.
There's two trains of thoughts in terms of therapy. Yes, like you say, people are in their own home. They don't have to bother about the traffic. They're not in strange surroundings. And of course, if you're the same as I am, do you insist that your clients use headphones or earphones?
I tell them to do so if they've got them.
Yeah.
I don't make them go out and buy them, but yeah.
Yeah, I insist that they do, because then it becomes a really immersive experience. Far more so than in the live therapy room.
My people usually have headphones because I've told them it's a good idea to use it because I send a recording. A few days afterwards, I reach out and see what sort of impact that first session has had on them. And then after each session, a day or two later, they'll get something to continue. I want to know whether they've had an impact from it, because you don't want to keep flogging a dead horse. If what you've done has already worked, then why would you keep going on about it? Move to the next thing. So it's very useful to have headphones for that.
Yeah.
Many of the people I see are married. I don't imagine the person who's not being officially hypnotized particularly wants to listen to me droning on. But
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so in terms of therapy, I don't think there's any issue with people having it online, and there's a lot of benefits to it. I mean, there are pros and cons, but on balance, there are a lot more benefits to doing it online than face to face. But
the main one for me that I think is that when the session finishes, they don't have to re-engage their conscious mind. They can sit there and just vegetate for a little while and let those thoughts settle in. Exactly, settle in. They don't have to
they don't have to get in the car and drive home then.
Find the car. Can be crazy at the park these days.
In terms of teaching, though, I'm finding people are wanting to get more and more back into the classroom face to face. I do both with the MHFA courses I deliver. I do both online and face to face.
Well, and you're also teaching hypnosis.
Yes, that's all online that I do. But that's specifically because the school I'm with, SFTA, they took me on specifically just to deliver the online courses. I don't teach face-to-face hypnosis.
Is it because they're too far away from you, or is it just...
No, but I just don't have the time. It would take up every weekend. So, and then, as we frequently go on ourselves, we need that time off, don't we? So I just do the online modules. I'm very, very happy with that. I enjoy it. I get the best out of that. I do love teaching online, but as I say, more and more people are wanting in the classroom now in terms of the mental health training than I do. Mm-hmm. I'm finding far more people requesting face-to-face courses than, say, a year ago.
Yeah. They're more confident going out into the world.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you have a new variant of the bug going around? We have
very probably, yeah. But I'm all vaxxed up.
We're gonna have a second, a third, fourth one now.
I was double vaccinated the other week, flu and COVID.
Yes, they're doing them together here as well. I run them individually. I usually get a reaction to the flu one. I won't confuse myself with which one's bothering me.
So this series, and we've got quite a few return guests, haven't we?
Mm-hmm. I think this is our check-in session.
Well, it is, because we've been going well over 2 years now with this podcast. So we did say, didn't we, it was good to get previous guests back. So next week, episode 2, we've got Les Roberts.
Good.
Yeah, Les Roberts.
She's also been on my radio show, which is really nice.
So next week we got Les Roberts on, and then the week after that it's you and I. But we've got guests right the way through, and there'll be no breaks in this series, which is why there's been a bigger break between these two series than usual. But we did, because of one reason or another, we had a few breaks in the middle of the previous series for the first time ever, because we both got incredibly busy and trying to fit our guests in at mutually convenient times with the time difference as well.
Yes, not only
a little bit of an issue.
Sometimes we're talking to people who are further west than I am. Completely different.
Okay, so it's great to let everybody know we're back, and we will be running this entire series. So tune in next week for Les Roberts.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, bye. See you on the next one.
We hope you've enjoyed listening. Please remember, this podcast is designed to give you an insight into therapeutic hypnosis and is for educational purposes only. So remember, consult with your own healthcare professional if you think something you've heard may apply to you or a loved one.
Feel free to contact either of us through the links in the show notes. Join us again next week.